Let's finally talk about these roaming bosses in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the zealot enemies that are connected to the Hidden Ones Bureau in our settlement. I will tell you what we know right now and also talk more about this building that I could already explore a little bit and where we will experience the return of the Odyssey-style cultist feature. It kind of caught me by surprise that it's in Valhalla, but it seems to be big. I also want to talk briefly about the Animus Anomaly and way more. So a like on the video would really help the channel out. And let's go. There is still time to participate in my October giveaway for a 2020 game of your choice on your platform of choice, including Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Just click the link in the pinned comment for a chance to win, and be sure you are a subscriber of the channel before you enter, and good luck. Let's start with the Hidden Ones Bureau in your settlement that I could already visit. I could try to assassinate some of the dummies outside with various power levels to test how much health I would take away with one assassinate. But more interesting is what happens inside this cabin in the full game. Like right now I could only walk around, look at some different scrolls and a map on the wall, and also read a letter to Hytem from Mentor Rayan about how cool it is that Hytem is joining Basim in England, and if he follows Basim's order, he will likely do great things in the future as well. And as you likely know, Sigurd met Basim and Hytem in Constantinople and brought them to Norway to then sail to England. And Sigurd gave them this Hidden Ones Bureau in your settlement so they could continue their work. But it's actually really up to us when we build this structure. Like according to Darby, the narrative director, in an interview with Access the Animus that I will link to in the video description, you could actually finish the story first and then after that interact with this Hidden Ones Bureau. And then you will see that some targets are already crossed off, because we will encounter some agents during the main story. Overall, there should be almost a 4 dozen targets in this cultist-like menu that will also be a flowchart like we saw in Odyssey. So maybe like 45 targets, which seems like quite a lot. But good to note is that the roaming zealot enemies will be on this list as well. These powerful bosses are namely protectors of the Order of the Ancients, and we will encounter them almost everywhere in England. You will actually hear a horn similar to the Villaki bosses from Origins. It sounds like this. So then you already know, okay, I gotta be careful. You can also keep an eye on the map because they have an icon appear as well. And overall these encounters were quite similar to the Origins bosses. So if you are doing a raid, for example, and the enemies ring the bell, then a nearby zealot warrior can come and help the monastery that is being raided. So then completing that raid will be way harder because these zealot warriors are very powerful. We encountered Red Walda in the demo with an enormous shield and sword, so finding an opening was pretty hard. I did try hitting the weak spots, which will eliminate one of the bars above his health bar. If you got all 3 of them, you can do a stun attack, but in the demo that was kinda hard to pull off. I did try multiple things though, like sneaking up to them for an assassinate. It was either bugged or it's simply not possible against these zealot warriors, because then you could of course skip the whole fight if you got the advanced assassination skill unlocked and got the timing right. So that might be the reason that we cannot assassinate them. These fights are also pretty intense and quite different depending on the warrior you got in front of you. So it would also be a shame if you could just skip them. Apart from being super defensive, this zealot enemy could also create a fire circle around him, so he was unreachable and will then throw weapons at you and fire traps that will explode when you get too close, as we see in footage from Frag Nart here. So again, I tried multiple things myself, also lured the zealot warrior to Sigurd, who was close by because of one of the main story missions to make the fight easier, but it was still very tough. I should have focused more on ranged attacks, because these bosses are a way higher power level than you, so when they hit you, they will deal a ton of damage, meaning that it's smarter to stay far away and then hit them with your bow. And that's actually cool about these high power level enemies, because in the previous games a skull meant, yeah, good luck, you cannot kill this enemy, but in Valhalla you will still actually do quite a lot of damage. You just have to be careful that you do not get hit yourself. And totally see that in action in the footage from Frag Nart again, and totally check him out if you are German. I left a link in the video description. He actually took out one of these bosses after almost dying thanks to a firebomb, but then he quickly grabbed some food nearby to heal himself again, and then he was able to finish Red Walda. You do have to confirm the kill, and then a confession room will actually play. It's a bit laggy, this footage, but as I told you before, there was an issue with the build we were playing on that would get laggy after some time. So this will likely be fixed in the full game. But yeah, really cool that these cutscenes are back in Valhalla, right? And actually every target in that Order of the Ancients menu will have one of these confession rooms. And we actually got a look at a second one as well, as captured by Shirako, and I will leave a link to his channel in the video description. This one is called Cola and has a two-handed sword instead of a shield, but there should be way more variants across England. Benoit, the co-dev game director, would not say how many, but we will actually see it the moment we pull up the cultist style menu. Another important thing is, of course, can we get the armor from these enemies? That was not possible for the Villaki bosses, although we did of course get another armor in Origins after beating all of them. Benoit would not mention if we could get the armor from the Zealot enemies in Valhalla. What we do know is that these enemies will not come back, so if you kill them all, there will be no roaming bosses again in Valhalla. And then we also get per kill 2 skill points, a rune you can put on your armor or weapon, and also an Order of Ancients medallion and an Order clue. So these medallions can be brought back to the Hidden Ones Bureau and exchanged for special rewards, like assassin abilities and even weapons, although we haven't seen that in action yet. And the clue is of course to try and find other members of the Order. So one clue can for example be, hey, go to this zone and investigate the area in search for another clue. So while some ancients will spawn after certain events or are again linked to the main story, there will also be targets already in the world. So just like in Odyssey, you could accidentally kill a member when you're like causing chaos in a camp or city, without finding any of the clues. The Hidden Ones bureaus should mostly send us to cities though, and the first one will likely be London, looking at the power level requirement, as I showed you before in a previous video. We still haven't seen those cities in action yet, but I cannot wait to see how they function. Like, imagine having social stealth and targets to kill in that urban environment. It should help get some of that old school AC feeling back, right? Another thing that does that, of course, are the Animus Anomalies. Still can only show you the glitches in the environment and not the actual platforming puzzle that you have to complete as Layla. But we now learned an interesting fact about this. We namely hear Layla and Rebecca talk during these missions, but the order will always be the same, no matter the Animus Anomaly you will do first. So even if your first anomaly is in Leicestershire and I do mine in East Anglia, we will still have the same dialogue and story. So there's a linear progression going on that you will follow no matter the Animus Anomaly locations you check out first and second. Pretty cool. What's also pretty cool is that we're less than 2 weeks away from launch. Really insane. Of course, subscribe for everything on Assassin's Creed Valhalla if you haven't already. I got way more videos coming your way before launch, and of course after that as well. You don't want to miss it. A like on the video would really help the channel out. You can watch my video on all the skills in the game by clicking the link in the pinned comment, or you can click the screen and go to my second channel with a ton of raw gameplay from my Assassin's Creed Valhalla play session. Totally subscribe there if you haven't already. The support has already been insane, so thanks for that. For now, I will speak to you next time, and goodbye.